Here's what happens when a lawyer gets arrested.
You're going to jail for what you did. Any last words?
The first thing a lawyer will do is invoke his right to remain silent by stating it out loud for the officer to hear.
I invoke my right to remain silent.
This is important because an officer can use what you say during the arrest to make you appear guilty at trial.
All right.
That's good advice, Law by Mike. Very, very good advice. You know what you shouldn't say when you're arrested is just how damn tired you are and these damn kids. And you probably also shouldn't just call people bullshit and yell at them and scream at them and be a little bit silly as it is. But how's it going, everyone? Welcome to this special Saturday edition of the trials and tribulations of a lawyer from a small law firm in central Minnesota. We are, of course, talking about Rekieta, and this may be the season finale. We might have like the filler season that's not really canon coming up, and maybe the movie will come out, which is of course the Bodycam, and that's one of the big questions that we have from all of this. And the sentencing is actually going to be very amusingly so in April. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. There might be a fight on the horizon. People seem to be keen on it, I should say. There has been the return of streaming. Though we might take a look. It doesn't look good. It was a little bit of a rough first stream. We'll do a bit of a review of it, and we're going to look at a couple clips from our good friend Alyssa. I should also thank everyone for liking the stream preemptively. And Lewis Cox for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you very, very much. But before we get into that, and we have some new documents as well. Wait, here they are. I've got the documents ready and everything. There's been a little fun thing, a little fun little sideshow, is that on the lawjudicial.com, there's been a little update on a little thing. It says Montegraph lawsuit Nick Rekieta, the impact of online content creation. And as we like to continue our legal education, that is also a requirement if you're a lawyer to continue doing that. So if someone is missing that, I would recommend that they get up and do it quick. But let's see what this says. It's a 7-minute read while we wait for people to join the stream, warm up a little bit, and everything gets good and ready. Nick Rekieta is a well-known lawyer who provides legal commentary on various high-profile cases, and also used to be esoteric ones. People like Russell Greer, who is suing Taylor Swift. That was a fun time back in the good old days. I miss the old days. I miss the old Nick, as I'm sure many people do. Rekieta's online presence has garnered a large following, making him a significant figure in legal circles. On the other hand, Steve Quest, known as Montegraph, is an online content creator involved in online drama and controversies. In early 2023, Montegraph filed a defamation lawsuit against Rekieta, accusing him of making harmful false statements. The case has attracted quite considerable attention due to serious natures of these allegations and its potential impact on online content creators. Legal responsibilities, including Montegraph's lawsuit, Nick Rekieta, and they spelled this incorrectly. There should be an E right in there. Every time I have to title something with Rekieta in it, I always double check, even though I know the way it's spelled. Let's have a look. The nature of the allegations, because this is how people are educating on. When you search for Nick Rekieta, these are the things that come up now. This will be his legacy. It's his online feuds, spurgery, and trip to the Twin Cities in his own living room while he's on drugs, right? Of course, I'm talking about DSPing his own peen live on stream. Montegraph lawsuit centers around accusations made by Rekieta in his videos, which he claims were defamatory. Rekieta allegedly accused Montegraph of a serious crime, including being a PDF and involved in a snuff film. Now, Montegraph does has a very, very strange movie. So I'm sure some people have seen the closer. It's a bit weird. But all he had to do was say sorry. He's like, I don't like your movie. Let's just put this all behind us. I don't want to pay Rendaza $200,000 and you at least, but probably exceeding $300. These are not only damaging accusations, but also fall under a category of defamation per se, meaning the accusations are also severe that they harm a person's reputation without needing further evidence of damage. The law requires certain claims as automatically damaging. to the person's character, and such allegations can lead to significant legal and personal consequences. That's very true. You shouldn't go around just telling people to sue you, or like, what are you going to do, stab me? Because sometimes they really do. The context and initial lawsuit filing. The lawsuit was filed in Minnesota, the state where Montegraph resides, which made Minnesota court system the jurisdiction for the case. Rekieta's team, in which he hired the most expensive First Amendment protection lawyer. Not a good move, but he wanted to set an example, and he thought he'd be able to pay for it with his YouTube earnings and also by fundraising. You know, I think he only earned about $12,000, which is pretty small, considering he got about $350,000 for Vic Mignogna, was it? 300,000, does that sound right? Rekieta's legal team responded by filing a motion to dismiss, arguing that the law was a slap, a strategic lawsuit against public participation case. Slap lawsuits are often used to silence critics by burdening them with legal costs. Rekieta's team argued that the Colorado's anti-slap statute should be applied to protect his right to free speech, potentially allowing the case to be dismissed early. This is very funny, because slap lawsuits were quite something that was well known to people in the Rekieta sphere after, of course, the Vic Mignogna suit. The case raises important legal questions, particularly about the balance between freedom of speech and the harm caused by false statements. The issue at hand was whether Rekieta's statements were protected under First Amendment and whether they crossed the line into defamatory territory. The court's ruling. The Minnesota District Court ruled against Rekieta's motion to dismiss, determining the Minnesota law would be governing the case instead of Colorado's anti-slap statute. The court found that Rekieta's statements, particularly the accusation of being a PDF, could be considered a defamatory action under Minnesota law. The ruling meant that the case would proceed to trial unless resolved otherwise. The court's decision emphasized the seriousness of the accusation and how they could harm Montegraph's reputation. It also pointed out the importance of protecting individuals from false claims, especially those claims involving criminal behavior. Rekieta's free speech defense was not enough to dismiss the case at this stage. The appeal process. Following the district court's ruling, Rekieta appealed the decision to the Minnesota Court of Appeals. He argued that the case should be dismissed based on First Amendment and anti-slap protections. However, the Court of Appeals upheld the district court's decision, agreeing that Minnesota law was appropriate. The ruling reinforced the idea that serious, unfounded accusations should not be protected as free speech, especially when they can cause real damage to a person's reputation. Now, one of his other defenses he can use is that Montegraph is undefamable. Will that come up in the Monty case? We don't know. And it's going to be a while before we know, because discovery is currently ongoing and they have until December, around Christmas, basically, to do their discovery. How much is Monty going to try and nickel and dime Nick all the way through the year? We don't know yet, but Nick did get a bit of a windfall, selling his second property, the Baldo secondary bunker, which has allowed him to pay his mortgage as well, which is very nice, very nice. And someone that's paying my mortgage is Ministry of Dinosaurs with 25 PLN, which I have no idea how much that is. If the Coke Snake takes a diversion program, he can escape conviction, slipping away from justice. If that happens, the Bodycam is our only consolation. From the outset of this case, it was very unlikely that Nick was going to jail. It was so unlikely that I made a bet very early on for $20 to say that he would not be going to jail. Now, the sentencing is on until April, so we don't know exactly what he's getting so far. But this is more or less what everyone suspected, is that as a first offense, nonviolent crime, father of 5, breadwinner allegedly for the family, it was very unlikely he would get anything else than probation or deferment, maybe some community service and something like that, and maybe banned from alcohol or seeing April for years. That's pretty much what everyone expected. A lot of people wanted him to go to prison, but realistically, that's not the best alternative to this, because it is better that the family be together. So this isn't really a surprise, what's happening so far. There is a couple surprises. And one thing that I have to actually give Nick credit for, which was but he actually acted like a man for once in the last 7 months, which is kind of surprising. Now, did he do it because of being true and honest to his wife, or did he do it to please his mistress? We're going to find out, and you can be the judge for yourself. But we'll get to that when we get to Nick's documents. Let's see, where were we? Public reactions and impact on the online case. The lawsuit has sparked a range of reactions online, especially within Rekieta's fan base and legal commentary circles. Is that us? Am I inside the legal commentary circle? Probably not. I'm not really a LawTube person. But, I talk about it sometimes. I think they mean more like Nate, Kurt, Andrew, Sean, right? Sean. Actually, we have some Sean clips today as well, actually. But that's the LawTube sphere. They believe his comments were part of a legitimate commentary and the lawsuit is a form of censorship. On the other hand, Montegraph and his supporters argue that accusations made by Rekieta were baseless and deeply damaging. Montegraph has emphasized that the defamation he experienced was not just a matter of reputation, it reflected his personal and professional life in significant ways. Yes, I'm part of LawTube. I think that one's better. LawTube. I like that. The case also raises important questions about online defamation and the responsibility of content creators that make serious allegations about individuals. As the digital landscape continues to grow, the lines between protected speech and harmful defamation become increasingly blurry, making cases like this especially significant. The current state of the lawsuit. As of January 2025, hey, that's now. The lawsuit remains active in the Minnesota court system. Although Rekieta's appeal was rejected, the case has not been fully resolved. There could be further hearings or motions before the final judgment is reached. If that case proceeds to trial, a jury may need to determine whether Rekieta's statements were indeed defamatory and the appropriate remedy for Montegraph, what it would be. Alternatively, the case might be settled out of court. This is a really good idea. Settle it out of court now and stop any further drain on your family's future, which often happens in high-profile defamation cases. Regardless of the outcome, the case will likely continue to have implications for defamation law and the rights of online commentators. Key lessons from this case. Importance of fact-checking. That's good. I like that. The case underscores the importance of verifying information before making public statements, especially when those statements involve serious accusations. Limits of free speech. While free speech is a fundamental right, it's not absolute. This case demonstrates that speech can be limited when it harms another person's reputation with false and malicious statements. Anti-SLAPP laws. This case highlights how anti-SLAPP statutes are designed to protect individuals from lawsuits that are meant to silence critics. However, the application of these laws can vary depending on the jurisdiction, as shown by the Minnesota's court decision. Impacts of online speech. Content creators and influencers should be aware of the potential legal consequences of their speech, especially when discussing a sensitive topic. While online platforms where anyone can make broad-reaching statements are increasingly the subject of legal scrutiny in defamation cases. Yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits going out there these days. Did you guys see that Destiny was threatening to sue the Kiwi Farms? And in a very Chad move, Null, Josh Moon, of the Kiwi Farms, of course, said that he would not only meet the challenge of a lawsuit, he would proactively fundraise offensive lawsuits against Destiny by anyone that he has wronged in the past. So not only is Null prepared to raise all the money to defend himself in the Kiwi Farms, and with the Russell Greer case, I believe it was Russell Greer, am I right with that? They raised $250,000. He's willing to raise money to not only defend the farms, but also give money to smaller people, YouTubers, Twitch people, whatever, to go after Destiny, to teach him a lesson, and just grind him into the dust to teach, because he's completely pissed off with all these online lawsuits that are trying to silence people's speech. Anyway, let's see what Nick has to say about Montegraph. Was it this one? There we go, this one. So this is from Nick's most recent stream. It's called Doing Whippets, Defaming Monty, Why Nick Rekieta Sounds High AF. Let's take a listen, shall we? Why sue the Kiwi Farms? Because Destiny is currently the target. Well, not the target, but it's been exposed that he was basically running his own little Weinstein cult, basically, where he would basically trick bipolar women into coming on his show, things like that. And he would have nudes of them. And I think he was getting sued. Well, he leaked his own sex tape of him giving head to some guy. And then it was all these different sex tapes that they were hiding behind. So one of the people have come out and is trying to get him for revenge porn. And there's some talk about coercion. I haven't actually followed it very closely because I'm not that interested in it. But it's basically everyone's calling him Sex Pestiny now. And it looked like he might do some time or at least have to register as a sex offender. And Destiny made a statement saying that if he goes down as a sex offender, he's going to take a lot of content creators with him, which would be very interesting. Let me see. We got Will Heron in the chat. He says, towards the mortgage. Thank you very much. Much appreciated for that. All right, let's see what Nick has to say on this topic.
Buckmaster says, it true you and April have been doing nitrous oxide to get high and pass drug tests? No.
If Nick stopped here, this would be a good response to a troll chat. Now, that is one of the things that people have been saying. He's Mr. Whippy now, which is an ice cream van I think most people have in their countries. I know definitely they have it in New Zealand, Mr. Whippy. But someone asked the question, is he doing whippets, nitric oxide, to get around drug tests? But listen to the way he answers, and I talked about this in my last stream a little bit. But when you notice Nick doing this one time, you'll notice him doing it every time. Even going back and looking at his old streams, you'll see the way that he always picks these sort of silly sort of chats that he can manipulate into a, well, I didn't technically lie situation. He's lawyering. This is his lawyer bone activating. So I'll go back a bit and just listen to the whole thing. Then I'll talk about it a bit more. Hold on.
Buckmaster says, it true you and April have been doing nitrous oxide to get high and pass drug tests? No. I don't know how doing nitrous oxide would help you pass a drug test. The way you pass a drug test is not doing drugs. That
is true. Unfortunately, he looks rough, doesn't he? He looks really rough. But yeah, this sort of manipulative language where he's like, is it true I've been doing whippets to avoid to pass drug tests? The implication is very clearly, have you been doing whippets to get high? Because whippets, nitric oxide, is not detectable on drug tests. And he says, no, how would that help me pass a drug test? So it's very annoying. It's very frustrating. And he does it all the time. And like I said, once you notice it once, you'll notice it every time. But he needs to stop doing this, because while he thinks this is very clever, with the amount of public anger about his lies and his fake life and his fake family man virtues and everything, like when you hear these sort of things, when you see these sort of things, it makes you angry. And it doesn't give you any benefit. It doesn't help your audience that like you still. And there are some people that like him still. And it doesn't help the people. I mean, it definitely doesn't help the people that don't like you, because you just see through it, and it makes you really very frustrated, very frustrated. Just stop it. Just stop it. Just at least lie about it or don't say anything. He said no, then he had to add on that little thing so he could say that he's like, well, I never technically lied.
That's just that. Buckmaster says, do you still stand by what you said and think Montegraph is a pedophile? Advice of counsel says not to talk about that, but yes.
Again, another moment where if you just stopped, everything would have been fine. Just at the advice of counsel, I'm not supposed to talk about it. Okay, stop talking about it. Then he goes on to talk about it.
My opinion has not changed. I have no reason to disbelieve anything I said about Montegraph. That Melton was ripened, so it was of age. Or that melon was ripened, so it was of age.
Did he just do a Freudian slip? He's thinking about Melton during his own stream. So Melton is the nobody likes onions guy, the guy that had a 3-minute montage of him talking about Aaron's kids. But what the chatter was saying was melon, because in the Monty film that Nick called a snuff film, there's a melon in it, and the joke was that it was a melon fucking. So he's got Melton even on his net. It's like, dear Melton, I rang you, but you still ain't calling. Because he has to send super chats to Melton to get on his show now. It's very embarrassing. Like, they don't like him very much. The only thing they see in him is the way that they can use him to further attack Steel Toe. And we'll talk about Steel Toe a little bit later, because it seems like his case is going to trial. He's going to try and fight the system, which is very, very strange. I didn't actually see that coming. But what does that mean for the bunker? We'll have to think about that.
How did you know? Did you skirt check the melon? Buckmaster says you sound high as fuck. No. So
a lot of people have commented on this as well, that Nick's voice sounds different, and a lot of people are blaming the nos for that, the whippets, and you'll have to be your own judge on that. But he definitely sounds a lot higher pitched, a lot whinier. Maybe he just got out of practice of speaking a lot, but you can kind of hear defeat in his voice. It's a little bit sad, you know.
Just sober. One thing that was funny to me. Now, look, I know I.
Now he's still got the. He still has the blue ring.
Just sober.
So the blue ring. If you don't know the deepest lore in this ring, if you wear like a metal ring when you're lifting, it's potential you could deglove one of your fingers, which is a terrible fate. So the man that has a heat allergy and has not exercised or been outside except to go to court cases for the last 7 months still make sure to wear his what is this, like it's not a latex ring or something, because you wouldn't want to hurt your finger while you're picking up the boulder or something. I don't know. Maybe he just likes the feeling of rubber in his skin. Maybe that's where the boulder thing comes from already. But the other hand had like a black ring that people was suggesting was a swinger ring. It could have been like one of those Fitbit rings or something as well, I suppose. That one's gone. So does that mean silicone? Thank you, silicone. Does that mean that April's gone and forever? We don't know.
One thing that was funny to me. Now, look, I know I sound a little bit different from before.
But why?
There's some reasons for that,
Such as
that are not medical reasons, and mostly my speculation. But a lot of little things have changed about me because I've been through a year of real shit, and a lot of it's a product of my own decisions. Like it's not like it's someone else's fault. Okay, like I got it, and I'm dealing with that and those consequences, and will continue to do so for a while. It's been frustrating waiting on the timeline to deal with that because people think.
I mean, like basically everything resolved within like 7 or 8 months, right? It's like I think it's like been 8 months almost exactly since this happened. I mean, that's still kind of quick for the legal system. What do you guys think of his new streaming setup? This is the up the nose. It's the view. It's the view that you get if you're a line of coke moments before you die. I can't see this Joker painting and not have a giggle every time I see it, because the deepest lore in this painting is that it's like $20,000 to $60,000, and it seems like it's signed by the Joker. But then, like, did the painter do this or did Nick do this? The Joker's, of course, that Nick signed it himself as the Joker because you're just one bad day away from becoming the Joker yourself. But these are kind of nostalgic, like the cat painting. This is the painting he bid against his mother to get when the lawyer's Zoom thing malfunctioned. And it's like, no, I'm not a cat. And you've got the Johnny Depp behind here. You can see it's all the glory days are behind him. It's a little bit poetic in its own way. The glory days are all long gone. But the only thing looking forward is the Joker, and that's the future that he faces. But it's not the Joker 1 future. It's the Joker 2 future, where the cops take him out back and they have their way with him. Very sad. Very sad.
Being like elusive or evasive. It's like, well, no, this, like you exercise your rights and then you move on to the next phase, which right now is a court calendar. I get to take a step on that direction and on the 24th. And I'm anxious.
And that was yesterday.
Just to like be done with that shit and just go on. One of the hardest parts about being under the scrutiny of the system is that you
can't just do drugs and fuck strange women. That is pretty rough.
Have to just endure being in there. You're not in control of the timeline. So what you want to do doesn't always manifest in what you can do at any given moment. And during that time, a whole bunch of other shit happened too in my personal life. And it's all ripples from the same fucking boulders landing in your personal lake, right? And those
he had his own boulder stream. Very sad.
Ripples overlap and touch everything, and there's a lot of fallout from it. So doing that or dealing with that has had an impact on me. Also, I have to be careful about what I say and what I talk about.
There we go.
Still, and that causes you to take just hesitations that weren't there before.
Now, Nick did say that when this is all said and done, he was going to tell his side of the story. Shouldn't he be able to do that now? Provided he doesn't break any of the terms and conditions of his plea agreement, surely he could just tell his side right now. Now, in the plea agreement, he can't claim to be innocent. That's one thing that we'll check out. But like I said, I had a prediction that I don't think he'll ever really talk about it, except in like these very sort of vague ways or lawyerly ways, which might be for the best, for him. Anyway, if he's going to talk about it at all. But my prediction is still that when he comes back to streaming, if he does come back as a regular streamer, is it'll say like, well, it's all behind us now. I don't want to revisit it. Yeah, some messed up things happened. There was mistakes on both sides, but it's over now. Let's move forward. I feel like telling his side of the story and what truly happened, I feel like that's off the table at this point. I think it's going to be long gone.
Another thing to point out is I know a lot of people say I sound like I'm on whatever substance. It occurred to me that just in general, not specifically, but since I started my show, people have basically never seen me online completely sober. Like even if I wasn't drinking.
This is the words of a man who was not an alcoholic. Hey, look, you've never seen me sober, really. I've always been drinking something, but I could quit anytime I want unless the government comes and forces me to. Then I have to quit.
Drinking on a particular night, I was in general drinking, very frequently. And so one of the things that various substances and alcohol in particular can do is at one point it will drive you into slurring and into incoherency, which you can see on some of my past streams. But there is a place where it just kind of lubricates the flow of ideas. It reduces any inhibitions.
But what does this have to do with the different sounding voice? Alcohol doesn't, you don't have one drink and your voice changes. Yes, it'll like lubricate the flow of thought and maybe loosen your tongue up so you'll be a little bit more eloquent. And only a little bit of alcohol will do that before it gets worse and worse and worse. But it doesn't change the way your voice sounds. Damaging the vocal cords is what changes the way the voice sounds.
Anxieties, and it allows you to speak kind of more openly and freely about whatever's on your mind, and it can make stream of consciousness happen more fluidly than not. I don't have that anymore, and
he does sound higher pitched.
As often as I would over abuse alcohol and drink way too much on a stream, get myself into a lot of fucking trouble. There were plenty of times where just having that sort of low level of chill was beneficial to the flow of speech.
Well, this is just like rambling. Like the question and what people are asking is, why do you sound different? It's not the way you're talking. It's not the things you're saying. It's the sound of your voice. It's very, very strange.
And finally,
I guess he just wanted to talk. Who can say?
I'm out of practice. So I know I sound different, man. It doesn't mean I'm high or drunk or anything like that. I'm not, but I don't really, it doesn't matter if you believe me at all. It'll matter soon, because I'll likely re-enter a bunch of testing soon as things manifest, but I'll be able to talk about that more later. He says, you sound high. Reading the rest of the chat because I stopped, sorry. He says, you sound high AF. I know you're so clever and they would never know how you're slurring words. Self-sabotage is not a good way to escape responsibility. I don't know what you mean by the rest of that.
I don't even know what you mean by your entire other statement.
Cheers to you. Thanks for the cash.
It is kind of strange though. Like it is a little bit silly to give money to like hate payments. I guess people like doing it because the implication you will read anything that's said for money. But I mean, if you really don't like him, maybe you just don't send the hate chats. I don't know. It's up to you. Solomon the Lech with 50 ARS says Monty's good name was severely harmed by Rekieta. Now people avoid leaving their children near him. Nick's Galaxy Gas habit can help put down the coke. Thank you very much for I think that's like a $5 chat. A couple of short clips and then we'll get right into the documents. Let's see. What is this one? Oh, only 30 seconds. Will Nick Rekieta be able to practice law again? Now, the answer to this is yes, provided he finishes his CLE credits. But there is a question. He could be disbarred from his actions in Minnesota. We don't know yet. That could come at any time after the sentencing, I suppose. Realistically, I don't think he will be, because lawyers get away with a lot of stuff without getting disbarred. I mean, there's lawyers in prison that can still practice law, basically. Typically, they only get disbarred if they misuse client funds or maliciously incompetent.
Charles Salmon says, will you be able to practice law again? Yeah. I was kind of really not paying any fucking attention to shit that didn't...
Anything. If you weren't April's snatch, he wasn't paying attention to you.
Have much relevance to me over the past year, and I need to do some... I just missed my continuing legal education requirements because I didn't really feel like doing CLEs. in the middle of all my other stuff. So once I get those, I just have to write a letter that I've done them, and I can come back. So then they'll probably disbar me for something else. It'll be great.
So even there, he's like, I think it seems like he already, you can see the fear in his eyes. His smile and optimism gone. There's some pain behind those eyes. This isn't what you look like on a good day. It sounds like he's already prepared mentally to be disbarred as soon as he gets his sentencing done, or the next time he gets like an ethics complaint or something. Because, like, to be fair, he does get a lot of bogus ethics complaints, and none of them have been worthy of disbarring him thus far. But his actions in this may be what finally does it. If anything came of the Aaron stuff, that would be my most likely candidate for disbarment, is because if he was actually advising Melton on doing illegal acts with Aaron's personal information, that's what I think would be the most likely case for a disbarment. So I guess if that materializes, and I have my doubts that it will materialize. Aaron said that Melton and Nick were both under investigation, but nothing ever happens, you know. It's kind of the way it is. Yuki Roma with a $5 dues says, originally thought, what the fuck is that Seiko doing to those lovely dogs? In the 80s, we called them whippets. And I didn't realize there's a new... What do you mean? I love your dogs. I don't get it. Whippets is a type of a dog? Didn't realize it. I don't get this. Please explain further. Maybe I'm too wet-brained to read it. Who can say? And item 69 with $10 says, hi, meme, Solari here. Well, hello there. Nick makes me feel like lying in bed all day and taking antidepressants. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Solari. Very much looking forward to your next video complaining about how everything else in the world should change and it's not fair. But I appreciate the $10. Thank you very much. All righty. All right, last clip of Nick. You see he's got the Cope cap back on. Sorry, the Pope hat back on. But this doesn't look good anymore. Like, it was a bit funny back when he was popular and people were unironically calling him the Lord Pope. But when you've fallen this far, I think you don't put the cap back on. And he put the cap back on because he was doing unbreaded after there was that Antioch shooter from a couple days ago. But this one's called... And put a 1 in the chat if you think the local gifts is going to happen, or a 2 if no. But Nick says it's definitely going to happen because he's making it himself now. He's making his homemade local gifts. And it says, Nick Rekieta's 5K local gifts, subscriber gift coming soon for the realies this time. And out of curiosity, is anyone here? Were you a 5K local subscriber? Now, I've never given any money to locals. So I am not going to be receiving one of these. But I'm curious if anyone is.
One of the things I hinted at on Camelot stream the other day
Rob, how's it going?
Was a reference to the 5,000 locals gifts. One of the things I want to have in place before I am fully back streaming is this will be a very short explanation, I guess. I have tried many times.
3 minutes.
Not enough times, but many times to get the 5,000 locals gift in place. And,
what does that mean?
My efforts always ended up at the last sort of minute or the last sort of negotiating point with the manufacturer I was talking to not responding to me. I don't know if it was because what I wanted to do was like super difficult or not. Basically,
no, it's not. And I have my own suspicion that the reason the local gift never happened, because he said he was ready to manufacture, ready to send everything out, but it's always the last step, is that he was so insufferable that the vendor decided they just didn't want to work with him anymore. But we'll listen to what he says about it. Oh, all right. So Yuki's following up with some more information with another 5. Thank you very much. Says, you could have done it for free, by the way. But next video title said, doing whippets, spelled with an E, like the dog breed. I didn't know there was a dog breed named that. Apparently, both spellings are accepted. What is a whippet? All right, let me see what is a whippet dog. I need to see this. Oh, look at that! It's so cute. It kind of looks like a little bit like a greyhound. Oh, this is adorable. Do you want to see the dog, chat? There you go. This is a whippet. Apparently, they look a little bit like a greyhound, but not as bizarre. That's a really cute one. I like that one. Speaking of dogs, what happened to Sunny? We've got a hashtag save Sunny out here.
I wanted people to be able to go to the manufacturer and buy the 5,000 locals gift and have them make it and ship it without me having to do anything with the
that's right. He didn't want to do anything. That makes sense.
product itself, and it would just charge me for the making and shipping rather than charge anybody else.
All right, so like what he's explaining here is that he's had everything set up, but he wanted a 5K local subscriber to go to the website, purchase whatever the gift was, and we still don't know. If you have your guesses, please post in the chat. I like to think it was probably like a whiskey cup with like said RekietaLaw on it or something like that. But they would go to the website, they would buy it, and then it would be charged to Nick's account. How is that difficult? Surely what you do is if you've got 5,000 products, you give the distributor the money, you say, here's the money, and then you get a code. And then you say, if the person has a code, they can redeem it for 100% off from the website. like, or just pay it up front and then give a list to every address that you need to send it to. It doesn't seem like hard. Like people do this all the time, right? Like calendar, like, you know, a lot of people in the adjacent spheres send out calendars. Most of them don't get the inventory to their house and then send them out personally. It's like, I don't understand why this was hard, but for some reason, Nick found the most convoluted way of just giving the guy a bunch of money and address. It's almost like he was trying to save money by not paying up front. You know what I mean? Because if you have 5,000 people that are owed a gift, but you're only charged at the point of sale when they redeem it on the website themselves, then a certain percentage, like 5, 10, 20, or even 30%, will never redeem it anyway. So you'd be able to save that money. I think he was just trying to, people do drop shipping all the time. Like, I think he was literally just trying to save a few bucks. It does do not redeem. Yeah, I don't know. This shouldn't have been difficult. He found a way, and I think it was because he was being insufferable and wanted it to do it his way, rather than just the way that everybody else does it. You pay the producer first, and then things get sent out.
Because it's a gift in every sense of the word. There's no shipping charge or anything like that. And so I would get to that point and I would say, okay, I need a little over 5,000 of these things. But here's what I want to do. I want people to be able to come to you and submit their information to you and you ship it out. I don't want their addresses. I don't want any of that. I don't want.
No, but you have to get the addresses from the people so you can send it to the manufacturer. It seems like he didn't want to do any work at all. He just wanted to say, here's a bunch of money, you do everything, and then don't talk to me about anything. That's what it seems like. It's just laziness. And it's kind of funny because every time you take many times in life, you take a shortcut, or if you're lazy, it ends up costing you on the back end. And that's what's happened here, because now he's pledging to do everything himself.
And plus, I might not be very good at accomplishing some things, like mailing out a bunch of stuff. And I didn't want to carry any inventory at my house because that's a pain in the ass. So I wanted to have it all done by someone.
There wouldn't be any space in his massive house with all the shit on the floor and all the coke on the countertops and heads of children.
Else.
There's no space.
Every time I got to that point, they would stop talking to me and would not quote me on an actual price. So I couldn't.
That doesn't make sense whatsoever. He's saying he's at the last step. It's just the price that you negotiated before per item plus shipping. How is this? Like, I don't know. This is just doesn't make any sense to me. I have to know what the 5K locals gift is. Like, if I could ask Nick one question and one question only, I would just ask, what is the 5K local gift? And it's never going to meet the hype, because he always talks about it in these roundabout ways about what it is and what it isn't, or what, not what it is, sorry, but like what it isn't, but it was going to be totally unique and personalized and everything. Like, what could it possibly be? Nothing will meet the expectations. It's better to not send it out at this point, because everyone that gets one is going to be disappointed. It's like, I waited, what? How long have you been waiting? Like 2 years for these now? Karungal with a 10. Rons says, Nick is the LawTube heretic now. Well, he did describe himself as the agent of chaos in his group chat, the cover gang. I forget what everyone was. I think, was it? I know that April was Valkyrie, and Aaron was the pugilist, which I think means boxer. It's a very fancy way of saying boxer. And maybe I don't know what Kayla was though. Maybe Kayla was like I don't know. Maybe you can put your suggestions in the chat. And Jeffrey C. Post with 2 says he could use a service like Rippersend. Is that like something that Eric July uses? But yeah, probably. Seems like everyone else figured this out except for him. Yeah, Tex in the chat says, I'm one of the first 5,000. I don't even want to gift at this point, but I just want to know what it is.
Get a manufacturer to do it. And then, you know, there'd be time between this where I would lose track of it. I get focused
Her code name was Quark. Yeah, that makes sense.
on other things and drop the ball on it. That's my fault. Okay. But I just leave that
This
in
is a
there
pretty
as
good
kind of
guess.
backstory. Since that's not worked out in the past, what I've decided to do is, I believe Lady Rackets is going to help me with this, which I'm really looking forward to having someone else to help me do it.
Did you ever help your dad with something? You ever help your dad put like a cabinet together or something as a kid? And he says something like you're measuring something or something, right? So he's going to cut, and he's like, "Give me more slack. Give me more slack." And like, what do you mean? He's like, I said, give me more slack. Pass me the wrench. Like, that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be awful. It's going to be. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it right now. All of that time together with Lady Rackets, not getting anything done. It's going to be brutal. Mr. Moshi with a 10 says, I was one of Rekieta's first 5,000 local subs. Does anyone remember when he suggested a second gift for those of us in the first 10,000? Seems like he's forgotten that part. Yes, of course, because that would be much too confusing. Resting Brandon face with a $2 says, April was the receptacle. Oof. Not untrue, though. Not untrue. But it's like there's actually an update in the Ape Escape as well that we'll get to. After
sure I stay on track is to actually just producing them myself. I won't be able to do all of them at once. So it'll be done over time. But one of the things I wanted to
over time, what, over the rest of his life?
To start with when I come back to streaming full time is to actually have that being made and having those being shipped out. So to those people in that initial 5,000 local subscriber group, look for emails soon. About how to claim yours.
Claim it today.
You will be getting them. I will be making them and sending them out rather than doing it through another company.
Now that he says that he's making them, I feel like he's ordered a 3D printer and he's just going to try and print out a bunch of shit. Like it's probably going to be like a little nose model with like a little, like a little nose with the arms and legs or something stupid like that. Or coasters. I always thought coasters, like RekietaLaw coasters, was probably what it's going to be. Like it's just like says the RekietaLaw thing. I feel like he's going to 3D print this shit, but he knows nothing about 3D printing. And there's a bit of a learning curve there. So I have my doubts about this. I have very much doubts about this. But Pigriser has gifted 5 memberships. Let's fucking go. Pizza Day is on today. Thank you, chat.
But you will be able to collect those, and those will actually start being manufactured and delivered. And that is supposed to accompany my return to streaming, because I want people to know that, like, I've always been serious about fulfilling it. And so it's time to just put the fucking pen to paper and make it happen.
Yeah, put the fries in the bag doing that for once. All right. With that said, there was a couple other things I had here. There was some funny chats that people, Nick was being very busy not making locals gifts, but spending time in other people's chats. And there's a couple of interesting comments he has, like this one. In response to Uwe saying, I never missed a mortgage payment until the state intervened, which is a very strange way of saying I never missed a payment until I did. And he says this, he clarifies this, that the reason his mortgage payments bounced and put him into foreclosure, because he didn't make a payment for a year, was that the automatic payments turn off when there's not enough funds in the account. So he was broke. At one point, about a year ago, he was broke. Like, he admitted he was out of money. He's broke for a year, spending it all on coke. The timeline works very nicely there as well. Someone also asked her if she was talking to April recently. He says, I rarely even speak with her right now. Another sneaky way of saying, well, I'm not talking to her right now. So technically, this is true. I never spoke to her rarely right now. Let's see. Another person said I think this is the comments in after a video. So he's going through the comments looking for things about him and correcting people. TD, or I guess it's T to Sill 5000 says, forgot about some things. Yeah, like a fucking mortgage on your house. No one just forgets that. How he thought this statement was believable is astounding. It's not believable, but that's the truth. I was in really bad shape, stopped paying attention to things that mattered. So he's saying that April doesn't matter because he's not paying attention to things that matter. He's only paying attention to April. Almost died several times. I'm glad it's not your experience. What is he, like several times he almost died? That's just like sympathy baiting, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get into it here. Now that we've warmed up the chat, we've warmed up. Oh, I got to say one other thing, actually. Sorry, we'll go back. His first stream was largely what I thought it would be. It wasn't like, if we're being honest, it wasn't too bad for a first return stream. Certainly, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And if you kind of can put in the time, show up on time, and do that 3-5 times a week, he'll probably make a career of it again. He definitely has a diehard audience that will never stop loving him no matter what he does now, apparently. But it was a rough start. He got off to about 1,200 live viewers, and which is basically 1% of his all-time high, but typically 10% of when he was like going strong. So it's not great, but he has been away for a long time. He looked very sad. It was a bit embarrassing. Fortunately, he got stream rated by Good Logic after he saw that his boy was in trouble, and that pushed him up to about 1,600 as a peak, I think. That's kind of what I expected for his first stream back, like 1,000 to 2,000 live viewers. Going forward, though, is going to be the really interesting one, because if you've gone for a long time, people are curious to see what it's like when you're back. I wonder what the next stream will be. Like, if he can keep over 1,500 live viewers concurrent, I would be shocked, especially if the streams look like that. I think like the moment he dips under 1,000 concurrent for like his average, if he's like doing 3 or 4 times a week and it's under 1,000, that's when you got to like actually put the fries in the bag for him. It's fine if you're like a younger single guy like me, where I don't have to pay for 5 kids. But if you got to support a family of 5, not on those numbers, bro. Not on those numbers. With a £10 says, have you seen the Destiny crash out logs posted on YouTube drama Reddit? He sounds so much like Rekieta, no remorse, blaming everyone else, getting petty and angry with his friends who call him out. I've seen a little bit, but not very much. We talked about this 10-15 minutes ago in the stream, a little bit. That they're calling him sex pest now, which I think is very funny. And Federal Agent 47. Singapore reporting in. Hello there, Singapore. I was talking to Singaporean people last night, actually. Anyway, so, sorry, that's right. Here is the documents. I've been teasing them long enough. Be sure to like the stream. And now that everyone's here, we're all warmed up and ready. Let us. I'm younger than Rekieta. No, I'm like, what am I, 37, 38? I'm getting up there, almost 40. So it's my prime time is well behind me. Anyway, so this is from the plea hearing where petition to enter plea of, and say it with me, chat, guilty. He's guilty in felony case pursuant to Rule 15. He's a felon. He's guilty as charged. Doesn't this mean that he can't have guns anymore? Isn't that the case in America if you're a felon? Now, this will be discharged, as I understand it, provided he keeps his good boy behavior up in like 3-4 years or something. So he'll be able to get the guns back one day. But as of this moment, he's a guilty felon. But there's a couple of surprises in here. So let's see. I've never seen one of these before, so it's kind of interesting to me. So this is the state of Minnesota, county of Kandiyohi, District Court, Judicial Circuit 8. The state of Minnesota versus Nicholas Robert Rekieta. To the above named court, I, Nicholas Rekieta, defendant of the above entitled section, do respectively represent the state as follows. My full name is Nicholas Robert Rekieta. I am 43. Oh, I thought he was 45. Okay, never mind. He's a little bit younger than I thought he was. 2 years. Just like the 2 years he lost being high. I am 43 years old. This is a bit of a scribble. Are we confident in this 43? Maybe the lawyer wrote this. Maybe it's not Nick. It's a little bit of a rough, but I'm no one to judge. My handwriting's pretty bad as well. It's slightly better than Josh Moon's handwriting, though, at least. Oops. And his date of birth is in 1981. The last grade that I went through in school was law school graduate. And I was kind of confused why this would be here. But basically, the reason that you tell your education level is that you want to make sure that the person signing is competent. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call Next Whippet Cheese whole-filled brain competent, but he did go to higher education. So in theory, he should be able to sign this, knowing full well the consequences and the severity of what he's signing on for. If filed in my case, I have received, read, and discussed a copy of the indictment complaint. I understand the charges being made against me in this case. Specifically, I understand I have been charged with a crime of drugs in a second degree in violation of Minnesota statute, possession of ammunition and firearms in violation of Minnesota statute, and child endangerment in violation of a Minnesota statute. And it has the statute numbers there, but I'm not going to read them. This was committed on May 23rd, 2024 in Candiotihie County, Minnesota. I am represented by an attorney whose name is Francis Herbert White. That's the Barnes Walker. And I feel I have had sufficient time to discuss this with my case attorney. I am satisfied that my attorney is fully informed as to the facts of this case. Well, he did follow Barnes's opinion about this. Remember when Barnes said that Nick Rekieta has already won? That's who he's referring to here. My attorney has discussed possible defenses to the crime that I might have. Oh, sorry, possible defenses. I am satisfied that my attorney has represented my interests and has fully advised me. And then he goes through the checklists. Number 6, I have never been a patient in a mental hospital. Well, he's not far away from it, it sounds like. Lord Asurim with 5 says he's an unfunny comedian. Can you be an unfunny comedian? Feels like that's the requirement to be of a comedian is to be funny. His court experience is embarrassing, and he's not a Christian trad dad anymore. I don't know what he can do to turn the show around now. Now, this might surprise you, but there is a large group of people that just want the status quo to keep going. So they will. Nick could do anything. They'll never be worried about that. He could probably murder his family and they'll still keep watching him. As long as he keeps going live at the same time, he plays the theme song and he's like, what's up, guys? You know, those sort of people, they just want noise on the background. They don't want to think. They just don't want to feel alone. And they're just going to keep watching the show regardless of whatever happens. Every bad person in history has had a group of fans. It's just the way things are. That's why serial killers get notes in prison, because there's a lot of wine mums that are lonely and just want to fill their day up with some law-splaining. Scumbag Josh, who hopefully isn't me, says, no matter what happens, next Mr. Fight the Power and Screw the Government, bent the knee, suffer neck. That's true. He said that he would fight the government, stand up for his rights, stand up and be heard, but he cowed at the government. And it seems like the only person that is standing up to the government is Aaron, because Aaron's decided to go to trial, which is very surprising. I thought he was just going to take a plea or something as well. Let's see. Now, both of these are crossed out, so I'm not sure which one's correct, but I assume that it is the I have. I have talked with or been treated by a psychiatrist or other person for a nervous or mental condition. I'm pretty sure he said that he went to therapy, so I assume that's the right one. Now, yeah, you put your initials over it, like the correct one, right? If you make like a mistake like that, I'm pretty sure. So this must be the right one. He has been to see a psychiatrist, which is probably for the best. That's page 1. And this is a short document, by the way. I have not been ill recently. Now, I press X to doubt on that one, but all right, fine. I'm not sure what they mean by it. I have recently been taking pills or other medication. Now, I assume what he's referring to here is his allergy medication. He gets, I think, like an antihistamine or something injection because he has a heat allergy, the allergic reaction to working or doing anything. So he's been taking some medication for that. He literally needs medication just to move and not start sweating. Trucker Rob says, with $5, a bit behind on the stream, but if he hadn't beefed with Eric July, he could have used Rippersend for the 5K gift. Someone did mention that as well, which is very funny. And it just goes to show that Eric July was behind this all along. And we knew that somehow he was responsible. So Eric July, once again, is the culprit in this case. And I guess this is AKYN with the 2 says, is this him holding government accountable? Cheers. Yes, it is. He's about to admit to everything, though. I mean, that's part of the plea agreement. Let me see. Where was I? I do not make the claim that I was so drunk or so under the influence of drugs or medicine that I did not know what I was doing at the time of the crime. Now, I press X to doubt on this one. And if you remember, you do have access to the custom. Well, that's the wood chipper. We don't need that one just now. This one, the doubt. I'm pressing X to doubt on this one. Because he clearly was under the influence at the time of the crime. But I guess, like, if the actual crime is purchasing the drugs, I guess, is that the instance where it first began? Maybe he wasn't high when he purchased them the first time. I guess maybe that's how they do it. I don't know. But I have my doubts very much so about this one. Let's see. I do not make the claim that I was acting in self-defense or merely protecting myself or others at the time of the crime. No, of course, he was standing up for himself. He was just in it for number one. I do not make the claim that I have... I do not make the claim that the fact I have been held in jail since my arrest and could not post bail caused me to decide to plead guilty in order to get the thing over with rather than waiting for my turn for trial. So it's just implying that, he didn't just sign this. He wasn't being coerced to sign this because he had to get out of prison, basically. A lot of these have to do with not showing that you're in your right state of mind and that you weren't coerced. It's on your own volition that you're accepting this plea deal. Let me see. I was represented by an attorney when I had he didn't have it during the probable cause. Well, he was representing himself, so I guess technically he did, right? When I had my probable cause hearing, I have not had a probable, and then it says I have not had a probable cause hearing. But he did have one, right? Didn't he? I guess not. No, I guess not. Oh, he did. He did have one. Okay. I see how it works. Then it says, I know that I could now move that the complaint against me be dismissed for lack of probable cause, and I know that if I do not make such a motion and go ahead with entering my plea of guilty, I waive all rights to successfully object to the absence of a probable cause hearing. I also know that I waive my right to successfully object any errors in the probable cause hearing when I enter my plea of guilty. Guilty. My attorney has told me, and I understand, that the prosecutor for the case has against me has physical evidence obtained as a result of seizing and searching for evidence in the form of statements, oral or written, I made to police or other regardings of crime, evidence discovered as a result of my statements or as a result of evidence seized in a search, identification, evidence from a lineup or photographic identification, and evidence the prosecution believes indicates that I committed one or more other crimes. That I have the right to a pretrial hearing before a judge to determine whether or not the evidence the prosecution has on me could be used if I went to trial. Now, Nick claims that if he did go to trial, the state would have a lot of problems proving that it was like his drugs and not like planted there by Aaron, etc., etc. It's pretty open and shut, regardless of what Nick says. And Clammy says, with a 2 Australian says, do they call whippies nags in New Zealand as well? I don't think so. But I'm not up to date with the most recent dog law in New Zealand. Certainly, I've never heard nag before, except when I nag people to do things. Let me see. I think we read all these, right? Then I know. Okay. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that if I wish to plead not guilty, I'm entitled to a trial by jury on issue of guilt, and all jurors would have to agree I was guilty before the jury could find me guilty. That if I plead guilty, I will not have a trial by either a jury or by a judge without jury. That with knowledge of my right to a trial on the issue of guilt, I now waive thy right to a trial. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that if I wish to plead not guilty and have a trial by jury or trial by judge, I would be presumed innocent until my guilt is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that if I wish to plead not guilty and have the trial, the prosecutor would be required to have the witness testify against me in open court in my presence, and that I would have the right, through my attorney, to question these witnesses. I mean, who would he bring on the stand, though? Like, he's going to interview April or himself or something? Maybe he can. He can't bring Aaron in. Aaron's been gone for 6 months. There's no chance at all. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that if I wish to plead not guilty and have a trial, I'd be entitled to require any witness I think are favorable to me to appear and testify at trial. With that knowledge of my right to require favorable witnesses to appear and testify at trial, I now waive this right. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that a person who has prior convictions or a prior conviction cannot be given a longer prison term because of this. That the maximum penalty of the court could impose for this crime, taking into consideration any prior convictions or convictions, is an imprisonment of 25 years. So that would be the maximum. There's no way he gets jail time at this point. I would be shocked, but I guess it's still on the table until the sentencing in April. That if a minimum sentence is required by a state or court, may impose a sentence of imprisonment of no less than NA months for the crime. And I think the reason they have NA there for the months of the crime is that it has to be a year or more for a felony. I'm pretty sure that was a requirement, but I'm not too well versed in Minnesota law. That for a felony driving while impaired offenses and most sex offenses, a mandatory period of conditional release will follow any executed prison sentence that is imposed. Violating the terms of the condition in release may increase the time I serve in prison. In this case, that period of conditional release is nothing. The person who participates in a crime by intentionally aiding and advising, counseling, and conspiring with another person or persons to commit a crime is just as guilty of that crime as the person or persons who are present and participating in the crime when that is actually committed. That my present probation or parole could be revoked because of the plea guilty to this crime. Now, Nick doesn't have a present probation or parole because this is his first offense, so it's not applicable. That the prosecutor is seeking an aggregated sentence, and that's not happening here. Now, this is the interesting part. This is a very interesting part. I have told my attorneys, and I have understood, that my attorney discussed this case with one of the prosecuting attorneys, and that my attorney and the prosecuting attorney have agreed that if I enter a plea of guilty, the prosecutor will do the following, given substance to agreement. Plead guilty to amended charge of drug possession in the third degree. So he's getting his drug charge knocked down a level. Statutory stay of adjudication pursuant to Minnesota statute, and that means that well, basically he's not going to really get anything. It's a slap on the wrist. It's a slap on the wrist. The remaining terms of the sentence at court's discretion, the state drops all other charges. That means that the possession of weapons is off the table and the child endangerment is off the table. And this is what a lot of us who have been commenting on this case have been pontificating, thinking about the idea of what is holding up the plea deal. And that is that Nick could not bear to admit to being guilty of child endangerment because the internet would never let him live it down. So it seems like he was holding up to argue for this. But one other thing, and this is the very, very interesting part. The other thing that they have bargained for in this agreement is that the state dismisses the case against Kayla and the case against April. That is surprising. And actually, I have to say this is a Rekieta W because he manned up finally and decided that he's the only one that's getting punished. So Kayla's free to watch the rest of Deep Space Nine. It's getting very spicy over there in the Bajoran system. The the Gem Hadar are about to come through the wormhole, and she couldn't spend any time doing anything. Okay, so Kayla's fine. Kayla's fine now. April, and we might have to do a vote here, chat. April's free to go, so we have to bring out might be the last time we get to see it. The Ape escape. Ape has successfully escaped. She is clean and free. April has got no problems now. All that's wrong is she has to pay for rent, but she can't stay in the second house anymore. Okay. Now here's the question: did Nick decide to man up? Did Nick decide to man up so he could get his wife off, or did he decide that he would go to bat for the ladies because he couldn't bear to see April in pain? And people made the joke earlier, but yes, this is the only time Nick has gotten two girls off. Very funny. I had a chuckle, but I think a lot of people said it now, so it's not as instantly funny to me. But I have a feel. I have a feeling that he did this solely for his love for April, because he talks about April, he misses her, he wants her back. Unfortunately, it seems like she may have been disappeared. And when I say that, it means that there's a rumor, conspiracy theory going around that the parents came along and offered her maybe a cash settlement to just bugger off and sign an NDA, because she's just been like completely silent. Nobody knows what she's doing. And apparently last time she was talking to Keanu, she was doing whippets in the car or something. I don't know. I haven't really followed it. It was a big Keanu stream that was like 9 hours long. I couldn't get through it, even though there was some Kiwi farmers that were gracious enough to low down their lives to clip that out. But my stream got taken down by the Trump election, so we didn't get around to that. Christina with a 5 says, I don't claim that I was too drunk back then, But I'm not drunk now, Your Honor. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. But I think he did this. I think he did this for April. I think he did this for April. Do you think he did it for Kayla? If you think he's on Team Kayla post 1, if you think he's on Team April and would do anything for April, then post 2. I've heard through both open and closed channels that Nick constantly just talks about April and how much he misses her, and he hasn't learned a thing. But, be your own judge. Be your own judge. Let's see. Secondary part here, that if the state does not approve this agreement, I have the absolute right then to withdraw this plea of guilty and have a trial. Any testimony that I have given concerning the guilty plea could not be used against me unless I am charged with the crime of perjury based on this testimony. That except for agreement between my attorney and the prosecuting attorney, no one, including my attorney or any police officer, prosecutor, judge, or any other person, has made any promises to me, any of my family members, or any of my friends or other persons in order to obtain a plea of guilty from me. So they're not coercing him to do this. He's doing it of his own volition. No one, including my attorney, a police officer, prosecutor, judge, or any other persons, has threatened me or my family members or friends with other persons to obtain this guilty plea from me. My attorney has told me, and I understand, that if my plea of guilty is for any reasons not accepted by the court, or if I withdraw this plea with the court's approval, or if the plea is withdrawn by the court order on appeal or other review, I would then stand trial on the original charges. The prosecution could proceed against me as just as if there had been no plea of guilty and no plea arrangement. So he could still withdraw his plea in theory. That's not going to happen, but there's like a 1% chance. There's always a chance, right? That he could decide, he's like, you know what? I withdraw my plea of guilty. Let's go to trial. I want to prove that I'm a man. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's over. It's over. My attorney has told me, and I understand, that if my plea of guilty is accepted by the judge, I have the right to an appeal. And he can still appeal it as well. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. It'd be a waste of money at this time. And considering how lightly he's getting off, he should just take his lickings and go. This is a really favorable deal for him. And it basically amounts to a slap on the wrist and no guns, I guess, and no voting rights until his charges are dismissed in a couple of years' time after playing good boy. Now, the question is he going to break his probation period? We'll have to wait and see on that one. A lot of people think that he's not going to make it a few months, but you never know. Maybe he does turn around. Maybe this is the start of something beautiful. Maybe he has hit rock bottom, and this is the only way to go is up now. But I don't think so. Let's see. My attorney has told me, and I understand, that if my plea of guilty is accepted by the judge, I have the right to appeal. Yeah, I read that part. My attorney has told me, and I understand, the judge will not accept a plea of guilty for anyone who claims to be innocent. Therefore, I now make no claim that I am innocent. So if Nick says, I never did nothing, it was all the government, they set me up, if he can't say that now legally, or he fucks up his plea deal, which is very funny. And that's... you better hope he doesn't get a few canisters of nitrous and have a bit of a fun time in someone's chat and just say, like, I was forced into something. That might be a pretty bad result for him. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand, that if I wish to plead not guilty and have a jury trial, that I could testify at a trial if I wanted to, but I could not be forced to testify. That I have decided not to testify, neither to the prosecution nor the judge could comment on my failure to testify. That my knowledge of my right not to testify, and that neither the judge nor the prosecutor could comment on my failure to testify at this trial, I now give up this right, and I will tell the judge the facts of the crime. My attorney has told me, and I understand, that if I am not a citizen of the United States, this plea of guilty may result in deportation, exclusion from administration to the United States of America, or denial of citizenship. Now, of course, Nick is an American, so that's not going to happen. Somebody joked in the chat earlier they should deport him to Mexico. Not Mexico, sorry. They should deport him to Jamaica. That's what he wants. That's where he wants to be. But I think he can't. I'm pretty sure he cannot leave the state of Minnesota now unless he has permission from the court. Going to other countries, many countries will not allow you to visit them if you have a felony. So, for example, he can't come to Japan anymore, which is very sad. He won't be able to indulge in his love of anime until this is expunged from his record in a few years' time. So he can't go deep on that sushi, and he can't get extra kawaii during the Sakura season or something. So the Demon Slayer reunion tour, he's going to miss that. His waifu Nezuko is going to be left cold in the dust. Very sad for him, but it is what it is. And also, he said that he was planning to go to an event called Hackamania, which I think is Melton's like show. I'm not sure if he's just a part of it. It's his show entirely, but whatever. He promised he was going to go down to Las Vegas and drink and fight and have a roaring good time. He now has to ask permission of the court to do that. I'm not sure they're going to give him permission. He has to ask for Daddy Government's permission to go there. He's like, Daddy Government, can I go hang out with a bunch of comedians that like to get drunk and high and talk about the guy that I have revenge porn charge against and was part of the drug scene? I have a feeling they're going to say no. I don't think he can be trusted to go down there and have fun anymore. He's being grounded essentially for the next couple of years, which is very funny because he wants to be a free and honest libertarian. Now he has to ask the government for everything, which is probably the funniest part of all of this. Some people are saying that like he deserves worse, and this is a light sentence, and it is a light sentence, and maybe he deserves worse. But I think he's probably been through enough. Or at least I would say that if he seemed to be showing any sign of repentance. But he's so smug about it, so I don't know. But realistically, being made a laughing stock, having your entire life exposed, having your children taken away for 3 months, having your entire career basically destroyed, that's a pretty harsh sentence in itself. Sometimes the process is the punishment, and he's had a pretty bad time already. Although I do see some suffers in the chat, so maybe he should suffer. But it's been pretty bad so far as well. And the funniest thing is that now he isn't free to just hang out and drink and spend time with the women that he wants to hang out with, because the sentencing will probably include a clause to avoid troublemakers like April, because usually you're not supposed to be able to just hang out with your druggies as soon as you get your plea deal, right? Now you can't do that with Kayla because Kayla's his wife, but yeah, he's probably not going to be able to see her again legally. But we'll have to wait and see. I'll have to wait to see. Federal agent with a 5 Singaporean dollars says became a dual national recently. Of course, both Ang Mo citizenships. I don't know what that Ang Mo is. That like an acronym? I'm not sure what that is. Please clarify. Well, you can do it in a free chat. Just like say in the chat, and I'll notice it. Kyle Crowden with a 5 says blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the only unforgivable sin. Nick is all over that line. He doesn't believe in it because if he did, he'd be on his knees. Well, he's going to have to do that between him and his God, I guess. But yes, he did blaspheme. He did say Jesus was a regular dude, and he has criticized and mocked the Bible quite extensively in his Bible streams. So he's going to have to make that up with God himself. And Natasha with a 5 says the worst would be the judge telling him to get a real job and that streaming is not a real job, lols. That may happen. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but it's unlikely. Because there are a lot of cases when you go on, when you take a plea or go on probation, where they make sure you're gainfully employed, and self-employment is usually not included with those. So it's not impossible that he might have to get a job, even if he doesn't need the money, like hypothetically, to just show that he can be like a good, upstanding citizen. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Self-employment typically does not count in those situations, which is what Nick would be. So, it could happen. I figure that they'll probably let him do his thing. And make his money the way he wants to do. Let me see. The rest of the statement is that in view of all these facts above, I wish to enter a plea of guilty, signed Jesus Mon. No, it's the signature is pretty good. I can't criticize his signature, but he has signed it as of January 24th. He is guilty. And Kurungan with a 5 more Rons, 25 more Rons. What are Rons? Ron, let me see what a Ron is. It is a Romanian. Oh, holy shit. From Romania? What a Mr. Worldwide tonight. Jesus, that's crazy. I never would have suspected it was from Romania. That's kind of mind-blowing to me. But he says, I think anything but falling into complete madness a la Ralph is not going to satisfy me. Well, it might happen, right? Like maybe being alone with his thoughts without the sweet, juicy lubrication that he so desires, that may be the worst thing ever. And he doesn't look good. So it's not impossible, right? It definitely doesn't look good over there. And Perry Guy with the $10 says, legal cope set. Yeah, that's his his sad face. You got the. This is pretty funny. I think one of the people in my chat made this because I was talking about how this looked very Stanish. It was like, "Dear Aaron, I wrote you, still ain't calling." But they did a very cute one where he's writing his letter and he's got an important mortgage overdue. I thought it was very funny and cute. It's 5 a.m. in LA. How about that? We're up early. What is it, like a Saturday over there? A Saturday morning? What are you doing up at 5 a.m. in LA? Did you stay up late or did you get up early? That would be my question. All right, now let's see. So with Aaron, there's some updates with Steel Toe Aaron. And we're going to defer to Sean because Sean talks about it. But basically the gist of it is that in the revenge pornography case that the Rekietas have against Aaron, Aaron has decided to go to trial. And at first I thought this was stupid. Someone sent me a message about this. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be an L for the toe. This actually might be a W for the toe because here's kind of the way it works. There is only one witness in this case that can actually prove what Aaron sent. And that is Gino. Gino, who is married to Keanu. Gino and Keanu hate Rekieta and they live in New York and they don't want to go to Minnesota. So if the only witness refuses to go to Minnesota, there's basically no case. There's like no evidence essentially. So Aaron can basically get away with it if Gino doesn't show up, and Gino doesn't want to show up. They said it was a waste of time and they think it's stupid. Now, what happens? What happens if they go to court? You have a right to face your accuser, which means that Nick, but more specifically Kayla, because Kayla's the one bringing the charges against him, has to go into court, and that could all be filmed. That could all be streamed, potentially. We don't know. So Aaron could very much, has the possibility, the power, to bring the Rekietas into the court system again, maybe do a bunch of discovery, especially in the case of maybe them looking through his emails and things. That'd be very, very interesting if they actually could prove that he did do that. And he could actually score a W over them, which is kind of funny. But let's see what Sean has to say about it.
All right, guys. So first things first, we have the Rekieta question, the RQ, and it's not about Nick. I mean, he does go in for his plea deal tomorrow. Looks like he's going to enter a plea. We don't know what to yet. Yesterday. We'll find out. I think we'll find out all together, but, good for him. We'll take care of it. We'll cover it when it happens next week. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anything earth-shattering, so I'm like, we'll see.
I would like to say that Sean's legal takes on the entire situation have basically been proved entirely correct. Everything he predicted basically has occurred. And then it's funny because there's a bunch of people that are still well inside the baldo. They're right in there next to the testicles, stuck between skin and latex. Is it latex? Yeah, no, silicone, sorry. They were saying that everyone was going to be wrong, that Nick was going to get away with it. Everyone that's been criticizing Nick has basically been proven right. Everyone that was supporting Nick and said, Nick's already won, the barn walkers, for example, they've just shown that they have no objectivity. They had an emotional response because they liked the guy. They couldn't think clearly. Everyone that thought clearly and said, well, the Nick's pretty fucked, but this is likely what's going to happen, we're correct. So I thought we'd just, enjoy a little bit of a victory lap there. I almost said rap.
But in the meantime, we do have another party involved in the Rekieta saga, and it's not Kayla, and it's not April, but it's Aaron M. Holt, also known as Aaron M. Holte. I hope that shows up now because that shows up in his on the police think it's his computer, Aaron M. Holte, aka one of his aliases of the Steel Toe Morning Show. Yes, in chat, if you guys don't know the story about that, when Nick decided to basically light everything on fire to go, casting it all away, he hung out with April and Aaron because they were on the Steel Toe Morning Show. And they were husband and wife, and they did a little bit of couples docking. We know there was some swinging going on and some swapping going on, and probably a lot more. So as things progressed through, it all kind of disintegrated, which shocker it did that. I mean, who could have foreseen that coming? And then at some point, Aaron did send to Gino Biscani. And I know some of you are like, what the hell? And I'm like, I know, guys, the dabble, we were kind of minding our own business. Actually, it's more like we're the conquistadors, and the Dabbleverse is the North American Indian tribes. And we just slammed right into them. We slammed right into the Dabbleverse at full speed. Like, you know.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Dabbleverse, it's basically the sector for boomers, and it kind of revolves around this guy called Stuttering John, I believe, and he was part of the Howard Stern show, I think. I don't know too much about it. I don't know too much about the Dabbleverse. I've talked to a couple of guys from the Dabbleverse. They seemed okay. Don't have any complaints about them. Yeah.
We're like Pizarro, we're like Cortez, and they're the Toltecs and the Aztecs, and they're just trying to get caught up to it. And we're like, who the f are these people? So Gino Biscani was all part of like Aaron's little world and that whole thing that we kind of ran headlong into. He allegedly sent her naked pictures of Kayla. So Aaron got charged with felony revenge porn. And currently he is facing charges. Yes.
I just want to say though, like, how could this? I don't think this actually meets the definition of revenge porn, because I guess I can see the argument actually, because sharing nudes isn't necessarily revenge porn. Revenge porn is when you're sharing nudes for the purpose of destroying that person's life. Was Aaron, when he was showing these photos to his friend, which you should never do, by the way, you should never send nude photos to people, and if you have been sent nude photos, you should not show those to other people. But was Aaron's motivation to destroy Kayla's life? I don't think so. And that could be one of his legal defenses. Maybe, maybe not. It seems like he was just bragging and showing things to a friend. Now, of course, because Nick was so tuned in and watches everything about Aaron, he could have been doing it to get under Nick's skin, which would meet the definition, I believe. But, I mean, Aaron's got a lot of defenses in this. And if their star witness doesn't show up and say, yes, it was a picture of Kayla, because they must have seized Aaron's phones or got a copy of his records, right? So maybe they could find and prove that the photo was there. But if there is no record of him sending it to it, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a real big issue. Maybe they don't just have the, like, if Gino doesn't show his phone that has a received file, it's going to be really hard to prove. It's just Nick's word versus Aaron's word. And they could both just say they hate each other. They both have reasons for saying what they're saying. That Nick's saying that Aaron sent it, and then Aaron said that he didn't send it. He said, well, I just sent a picture that said just say nice no matter what I send, sort of thing, right? It could have been like that. You never know.
And as he famously said, your boy did good, didn't he? Your boy didn't do too bad, didn't he? Which, it's great to do. What's great to do there? The sector being the Dabbleverse is like a match made in hell. Well, it's funny because I've run into other people who, and this is very much a true thing. Like when you're in the internet, and I've said this before, I think a couple times, you are not, like, whatever group you're in, you're really not as big as you think you are or as bad as you think you are. But I will say the sector and internet blood sports and all of that is still actually considered kind of like, the Eastern Front of the internet. Like it's a tough place. And I know IBS is gone, but even the sector still is, the sector still is pretty rough and tumble. It's a rough neighborhood. The Dabbleverse is a rough neighborhood too, but it's very interesting. So anyway, with all of that, Aaron got charged for basically revenge pornography. They have it worded differently under their laws.
It's true.
But it is an actual thing. And Aaron's facing charges out of Stearns County, Minnesota. That's where Aaron lives, and that's where he did it at. So that's where he's facing issues there. If you guys have not seen what that actually all means, this is something we covered way back when. We also covered Aaron's arraignment. It was actually the first time we did a Stoney's read, I think was that day when Aaron got arraigned. So anyways, he's facing non-consensual dissemination of private sexual images and intentional dissemination, not miscegenation. I don't think Aaron's down with that, but it is dissemination. And intentional is a felony. And then there's non-consensual dissemination of private sexual images, intentional dissemination of the image without consent. He's also got charged with gross misdemeanor. When there's issues about it wasn't intentional. And there's an issue about intent because it changes from a felony to a misdemeanor. So what does that mean for Aaron? Well, Aaron's case was set to go, and we learned a couple of things. So he had his pretrial yesterday, and here's what we learned. So what happened is things are set. So we have this notice, and this thing is highlighted saying, just please notify your client. That's just a notice to the attorney. Hey,
what? Hold on a second. I forgot to log into my premium account. Just give me a second there, chat. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I was too engrossed. I'm learning things from Sean. And now it's muted.
Yeah,
there we
7th Judicial getting a
All right.
copy of this, just you. So it's coming to him. It's in the 7th Judicial District.
Sure.
Here's Aaron's case number. If you're looking for it, you can look it up online. And it's the state of Minnesota versus Aaron. Aaron Michael Imholt, AMI. I wonder if that goes by. So anyway.
Just speaking about Aaron's name for a second. So Aaron, if you take out his middle name, obviously, Aaron's initials are AI. Do you think that Nick is like traumatized by hearing the word AI now? Like if it says like Donald Trump pledges $1 billion in AI research, does he just automatically think Aaron Imholte research? I'm kind of curious about that. I kind of think yes.
You are notified of the hearing dates. They're setting a jury trial for 2 days. 2-day trial, which isn't actually a normal. I mean, if you think it's a very straightforward case, you would still take 2 days. In Aaron's case, it'll probably take him longer to pick a jury than it would to go to trial, but we'll see what happens there. There's also one more thing that's been set for Aaron, and that is this here, and it is a motion hearing. It's set for April 10th. I did reach out.
All of these events are coming in April. Very ironic. Very interesting. So Nick's got his not settlement, sorry, his sentencing. Sentencing is in April. And Aaron's also going to be in the courthouse in April. Everything's in April. She's like the center of it all. It's meme magic. Perhaps it is. Speaking of meme magic, we hit the goal, which means that chaos magic will definitely compel the will compel the body cam to be released. The very powerful chaos magic that I've been hearing so much about. It's making judges off themselves in Illinois, and also snowing. It's very strong and powerful. It's definitely going to happen now. But one thing is that I actually think there's after reading these documents, not this one obviously, but the previous documents with Nick, there's nothing in his plea hearing agreement about the body cam being suppressed, now that I think about it. So it is my understanding that it is now available. Surely, this is if it's no longer a part of an ongoing investigation, it should move from confidential to private, which means that it can be released once the minors have been censored. That's the thing, because first the cops have to receive the money from Josh Moon, who still has it. And then they said it would take 10 business days to get it work, because there's like 50 hours or something they have to go through. It's like two-hour footages per like a certain number of cops, I guess. It wasn't 25, so maybe it's not 2 hours. Maybe it's not 50 hours. I thought it was 9 cops, so it would be 18 hours they have to go through. That would, taking about, weeks sounds about right for all those. So we all know if the body cam is coming out the moment that Josh Moon notifies everyone that the money has been accepted by the police. If that happens, it's 100% guaranteed. But since there's nothing about the body cam in this plea agreement, it makes me feel like that it is coming out. So I'm actually a little bit more hopeful for it now that I think about it. Oops.
Out to Aaron and ask him what's going on, and he believes that there'll be some sort of resolution before we get to trial. But they did set a motion hearing for April 10th. So it sounds like dealing motions limine other pretrial matters. That's what I believe is going to be addressed. Jury selection, yes, Augusto Pinochet would include voir dire. So that's what I mean by jury selection is voir dire. That'd be jury selection. It'll probably take longer because it's not a super involved case. Now, like I said, I talked to Aaron. He seems to think that there will be a resolution to this. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe Aaron goes to trial. I mean, we already heard Gino and Keanu saying, I don't really want to be part of it. This is all retarded, which if you're having witnesses who aren't showing up, that can be potentially fatal to a case.
Also, it's important to note, like another sideshow in this entire series is that Keemstar has been reached to gauge interest and also contact parties for setting up a boxing match between Aaron and Nick. Now, yes, it's another sector boxing match. It's really happening this time, guys. Nick has said that he would do it. Aaron has said that he would do it, but he couldn't necessarily accept just then and there because he has ongoing charges potentially coming through his private investigator or something for the revenge pornography. But Keemstar has said that he's interested in setting it up. and he has a company that does it, Happy Punch. I think it's called Happy Punch, right? And they had like the I think also Sam Hyde is like a part owner of this, and Keem knows who Rekieta is. He's interested in the drama, and he's interested in making as much money out of locals as he possibly can. So if Aaron and Nick both consent, it should happen. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. It's never going to happen. Nothing ever happens. But it'd be interesting if Keem gets involved in this, because then we'll actually be able to see who declines it. Because both parties are going to say like, oh, well, I wanted to do it, but the other wouldn't do it, sort of thing, blah, 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 blah. Then it's official. If it doesn't happen, we'll know exactly who's chickening out. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of all this peacocking and walking around. Just somebody say they're going to fight or not. But that would be the best ending to this, like Aaron and Nick in the ring. And, if Aaron wins, April comes back and he also gets Kayla as his bag. That's the prize he's fighting for. If Nick wins, we forgive him from all of the things that he did, right? It'll go back. The Johnny Depp streams will be back. He'll have 10,000 concurrent live viewers again. Just do it, Nick. If you win, everyone will love you again. And Aaron, do it. If you do it, then Kayla will love you again. It'll be great. Everyone will get what they want.
We don't really know. All he did tell me was apparently they're still trying to work on things, but in the meantime, they set a trial date. I think that may have been the court.
It's not me that's suggesting that they fight. I mean, I do want them to fight, obviously. I want to see a fight. It's them who are challenging each other. I haven't challenged anyone to a fight. I'm done with fight shit. They are not. That's why they keep talking about it. But I do want to see it, so I guess.
But either way, it's going to get set. We'll see what happens. And you may not like Aaron, but if you want to see Nick get felted, then you want another win for the toe. So that's how I'm looking at it. That's James says, and they're out of state. Yeah, it is. That's the other big issue. They're out of state. They're not even in the same county, much less the same state. Gino and Keanu, I call him Ginu. It's like, Benifer. I keep doing that.
They have to wear
They
boulders
are
in the ring. That's a
in
requirement
the Tri-County area. I think they're in New York or New Jersey. So, yeah, they're pretty much gone. They're in NY. Okay. That's what I thought. Well, they're in New York City, New Jersey. Like I said, it's all same place over there. If Gino, Keanu, and Kayla don't testify, what are the chances of a conviction? I mean, I don't see how, Nick will drag Kayla into court and force her to testify. There's no way Nick is going to let Aaron get away with this.
Do we agree with this statement? I kind of think he will, right? Because Kayla has expressed interest of just not being in part of any of this. And Nick keeps bringing in people through chats, through hanging out on streams, by going on other people's shows and talking about it. Kayla doesn't want to have any attention on her, and she just wants this all to be over. Nick refuses to stop and just let it die. So, yeah, I believe that Nick would very much drag Kayla into the courtroom to try and get a W over Aaron, because he can't stop thinking about him. Why hasn't he responded to my text chat? Why hasn't he responded? He left me on red. How dare he?
If he can. I mean, that's what this is all about at the end of the day. We all know that. This is Nick reeing at the top of his lungs and weaponized using the court system because he didn't get his way. Very likely because Aaron didn't buy Nick's house when Nick was trying to leverage his debt. It's what it really sounds like, chat. And you might say that really does seem like what it sounds like, and that's probably because it's what it is. I mean, in reality, that's how those things go.
Also, it's just interesting to point out as well that Nick is very much a government bad, get out government except when he needs something and then the government's fine to use. Now, I don't think you should share nude pictures of people. Those are private, right? But he was sharing nudes of his wife, and she was sharing nudes of herself in their own locals chat. They were sending it to groups of thousands of people. And so the idea that Aaron's showing the nude to Kayla to one other person is being so, oh no, oh my God, how could this happen? This is the worst thing to happen ever. Oh no. They literally went to a nudist beach, walked around nude with everyone. You really think that it really caused her emotional pain and distress? It's just an excuse to try and use the government to his own will. It's so funny too, because daddy government is a permanent fixture in his life now. So good job. You invited them in to stay, and now they're never leaving.
So the idea that Kayla decides, I don't want to testify, there is not a world in where I see Nick going, okay, that sounds fine, honey. It's going to be like, no, you have to testify. He's the steel man. He's the steel toe man. He's so bad. Kayla, he's going to be like, Kayla, he ate my goo.
Will the trial be streamed? It depends entirely on the judge.
for some reason that's still a big sticking point. You know, Aaron eating your spunk doesn't really change the rest of what's going on in the world out there. I'm just saying it doesn't change any of the other facts of any of the other matters involved. And Hypnotoad says, yes, Worski is in a talk with Keemstar to set up a fight, which that would be hilarious because Keem can make it happen. Keem can get things arranged. It would be very interesting to see it. And I totally would watch it because, yeah, they're both at the same height. So there isn't going to be.
I'm just going to say there's no way that Nick beats Aaron in a fight. No, like the jiu-jitsu hitting the nerve point, the 5-point pump, like it's not going to happen. If you're literally getting allergy from sweating, from raising your body temperature, there's no way you can compete in any sport that has high cardio requirements. I'm not saying that Aaron is a surprise fighter or that he's got great cardio or anything. He doesn't. But if one person's body literally starts destroying itself, if they get too warm, there's no way he can last 3 minutes in the ring. No way in the world.
Issue. I mean, there probably will be a skill issue there. So it'd be very interesting to watch. It would be very interesting to watch. I'd love to, I would actually probably, if they do it in the United States, I'd be like, I think I'd go to that fight. I think I would go to that fight.
Alrighty, chat. I think that is us for the night. Hope you enjoy your Saturday morning wherever you are. I am out. I'll be back in a couple days, and I hope you enjoyed Rekieta Season 1. It was a fun little story. Lots of twists and turns. A lot of surprise twists. A lot of surprise guest characters coming up out of the scene. Will the filler season be any good? And will Season 2 happen? We don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. Until then, I'll be back in a couple days. Peace out. Stay safe. And cheers. Have a good one. Love you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.